Hey everyone, this is One Spittin' with another battle report. So, because I had a few people request it, I brought out my Bretonnians for the first time in a long time. Their carrying case was actually really dusty, which making me feel bad. Anyway, so I brought out the Brets against an Ogre Kingdoms army. Uh, I don't know where I got the idea for this list. I was really just throwing stuff together really quickly. And I've played this Ogre list before. There's a scrap launcher on the far left, 50 Noblars, 8 Iron Guts with a character. It's a level 2 Lore of Heavens with a scroll. Let's see, 8 Bulls with his general, who's a level 4 Slaughtermaster, and he has Gret's Sickle. Then there's let's see, 8 more Bulls with his Bruiser, Battle Standard Bearer, 4 Lead Belchers, an Iron Blaster, and 2 Mournfang on the far right. So facing him, I thought my Knights Errant with my Heroic Killing Blow Lord would do well against the Mournfang, so I put him over here. I really think I could mop those guys up really quickly if my general can get at least one heroic killing blow. Otherwise, that Mournfang's unit's going to really deplete my Knights Errant. But that's what they're built for. Got a Trebuchet, a big unit of men at arms. I believe it's 44. Then I've got 10 archers behind him. My Knight of the Realm unit. This one has 2 hero level characters. You can see their builds there. And then I have a prophetess in the second rank. So when I did the list, I knew that one option is to put my general here. That way I would have 3 characters in the front rank and the unit would actually be protected. But at the same time, I like that I can pull him in the Knights Errant, scoot the champion up, and then it still protects the unit at least until the champion dies. So anyway, did that, have another unit, I believe 44 men-at-arms, another unit of archers, some peg knights, fast calves, some more archers, and another trebuchet. And in hindsight, I'm wondering if I was taking, 3 units of archers and 2 trebuchets, just because with my beastmen, I'm so tired of not having any shooting that it was really nice to have some range. I can participate in the magic phase of the level 4 with life. I can participate in the shooting phase. And in combat, I'm certainly weaker than my beastman army, but hopefully by the time we get there, my shooting and magic can swing things in my favor. So of course, Ogres go first, and he moves up, as you can see. Here on the far right, really surprised me. Did a swift reform with his Morphing and just got the heck away from my general, which is probably pretty smart. If I was smart enough, I'd probably do that too if I was him. You can see he brings his Iron Blaster up to shoot at my general's unit, which of course I do not appreciate. Then the magic phase, his general casts the +1 toughness spell. He didn't do regen because he knew that I had flaming shots at all my bowmen, so regen wasn't going to do him a whole lot of good. So he did a +1 toughness, and he got it with irresistible force. Rolled a 4, got sucked into the warp, taking 2 of his guys along with him. So just huge. I hate it when things happen to me, and in all honesty, unless it's a tournament, I don't love it when it happens to my opponent because it's like starting the game with 15% fewer points than I have. So, now I have to win, or else, wow, you couldn't even beat that. So, not complaining about it. So I don't have to worry about his magic phase too much. He only has a level 2, and the general, of course, he doesn't have a general, so his leadership is about the same as mine. So anyway, during his shooting phase, his Iron Blaster rolls a misfire and apparently shoots. He turns randomly, and so he's kind of turning to face the back of whatever. That's kind of a funny miscast option. But again, I appreciated that too. It's really not hard for him to get. I believe he could have hit 4 knights and very easily should have killed 3 of them. So the only shooting that really did anything is he killed about 6, I believe, men-at-arms. And if that's all I lose to shooting phase, then I am not going to complain one bit. I think, by the way, that his lead belcher shot at my knight unit, I think. And I think it's a scrap launcher, and they didn't do any wounds, and the scrap launcher is what killed the men-at-arms. Or I could be wrong. It could be that whatever. That's how it happened. So, Bretonnian turn 1. I move, as you can see. Here's the left. I'm really mad at myself. At the first of the game, I forgot to vanguard my peg knights, and really I wanted to get him behind his lines and set up for a charge on his scrap launcher. So now I couldn't really fly over his head, and so now I'm just going to the left. It's just killing time, which is I was a little bit frustrated with myself for that. Here's how it looks over here. I'm thinking that the only realistic charge he has is against the men-at-arms, and if he does, my men-at-arms will be steadfast, and I'm going to get a flank charge on him. So let's see, here on the right-hand side, I was too far away to charge with my general, so I just march up as far as I can. And with this rightmost men-at-arms unit, again, I just march up as far as I can. I like that it won't be too difficult of a charge into the flank of his bulls should he fail a charge or something like that. So during the shooting phase, drop a rock on the iron guts and weaken them by a couple guys and put a wounds on the third guy, so it certainly makes them more manageable. And can I say that I love having a shooting phase? And here, yeah, I think I just did a couple wounds with my arrows. I did a wound on the champion. I don't know what happened here. Anyway, he's depleted here too. And we go to Ogre's turn 2. So his Battle Standard Bearers unit, the bulls, charged my men-at-arms and failed it. And I was kind of bummed. I was hoping he'd make it because I really don't think he could possibly kill enough to get those guys under steadfast. And then I would have my knights and probably my men-at-arms too in his flank next turn. So I felt he was pretty lucky to have failed that charge. Here on the left-hand side of the board, did some real long charges with his iron guts and his noblars into my trebuchet and my peg knights, or my peg knights, whatever it was. They both failed it. I think he needed a 10 or higher to get there. He just spun his iron blaster around and has another chance to shoot my knights. And overall it looks like that. Nice to have the Bretonnians out again. So he shoots and only kills one. Now one thing that was hurting him was, you have to roll for the first bounce, or it's not really a bounce, but just for the, whatever. And so it was tough for him to hit the first couple ranks. So he hit my third rank and bounced through. So he hit 2 guys, and I think he wounded both, and then I made 1 ward save. So we go to Bretonnian turn 2. So I declare a charge with my men-at-arms into the flank of his Battle Standard Bearers unit. And, I was thinking about going to the front of him with my knight unit, and I decided not to because I really thought that he'd probably just flee. And in all honesty, I like the odds of my men-at-arms going in there. I know that he's high toughness, higher strength, but, I've got a charge, a flank, 3 ranks, and a banner to his 2 banners. And, I have a chance to do some wounds as well. So, and then I have a magic phase where I maybe can get the +2 toughness on him, and that might make all the difference in the world. So that's what I was going for there. So that's why I didn't charge with the other units. Finally get my peg knights out, so now they can easily get the charge on the scrap launcher, and might be able to do some other things should I need them to. Sacrifice the fast cav to make sure that those other bulls don't come in here and cause problems for me. And I really like how his iron guts are on the other side of that river. I mean, there's really nothing for them to do. They can kill a trebuchet, they can kill maybe some archers, and I just don't care. Matter of fact, if he charges those archers in the river, I'm just going to flee, and I don't care if I run off the board, because it'll just give him a failed charge, just sitting out there for another turn. So just some more angles. And of course my general and the Knights Errant get the charge on the scrap launcher, or on the iron blaster. During shooting, I pick off another one of these guys and whittle that unit down a little bit. I was actually aiming for this unit, kind of hoping it would scatter onto the bulls that are in combat, but I got a direct hit, but I guess I couldn't complain. And one thing that happened 2, maybe 3 times this game is I was rolling direct hits, and then when I rolled the high strength D6 wound one, I would roll a 1 to wound. And I know it happened twice, and I think it might have happened 3 times. So I'm not complaining about the direct hit. It was nice to get all those strength 5 hits, but it was so frustrating not to get almost an easy extra ogre dead out of the deal. After combat, I actually lost combat, and it was funny because my opponent kind of knew I was going to lose, and Yeah. So I wasn't able to get the toughness buff because he knew that was coming. That's the only thing he tried to dispel. I got Shield of Thorns. Who cares? And didn't. I don't think I did any wounds to him, and certainly not enough. He killed several of my guys. He won. And the big mistake I made was I didn't have my Battle Standard Bearers unit within 6 inches to provide better leadership. So I was steadfast, rerollable, but was only on a 6 because he didn't try to kill my champion. So luckily I stayed, but he reformed, and now his turn's next. He's going to be able to charge with the lead belchers, and that's not going to go well for the men-at-arms. The good news is I'm very likely to be steadfast. The bad news is it's on a 6. Now over here, yeah, my general couldn't get heroic killing blow. We did do 5 wounds to the thing, but apparently it has 6 wounds, so couldn't kill it. Broke it from combat, couldn't run it down, and now it's kind of a bummer. I was kind of hoping I'd kill it, be able to reform, and actually be able to support the rest of the battlefield, but we're going to have to mess around with this guy for another couple rounds. So we go to Ogre's turn 3. Yeah, he rallies a scrap launcher. His lead belcher is charging to the flank of my men-at-arms. Mornfang moves up. His other bulls on the left-hand side of the screen move up. And over here, yeah, he moves, as you can see. Again, I think both of these units, his Iron Guts charged my archers. They fled off the board. They redirected to my trebuchet. He needed a really high roll. Missed it, and his Gnoblars missed it, so they're both just sitting there. It's getting to the point, though, the next turn he's probably going to get the trebuchet, and that is okay. If that trebuchet kept these two out of the combat, I'm very happy with it. I did not want Iron Guts going against my knights. So here are just some other views of the board. Yeah, that's not looking good if you're a Bretonnian peasant. And yeah, he did a lot of damage. I think I was steadfast and it didn't matter. I couldn't save it, so they beat and ran down the peasants. And now my knights are stuck there with nobody to charge. The only thing I have going for me is the other unit of peasants can see his Battle Standard Bearers unit, and it's going to be a rear charge. But I'm thinking, I've already tried that once. It didn't work. But I'd probably try it again. It'd be in the rear instead of the flank, but who knows. So Bretonnian turn 3, and I wish I could show you a picture with where I declared charges and how he fled, but basically the whole board changed because I would declare a charge and he would flee, and I would declare with somebody else and he would flee, and I was trying to push him back to where I might be able to catch it with somebody, and yeah, it didn't work. So his Battle Standard Bearers unit that's facing my general's unit in the upper right hand corner, they fled from the men-at-arms and the men-at-arms charge. The men-at-arms redirected into who knows who, I don't know. Everybody charged something, everybody fled. So most of his army's fleeing, and they're yeah. The Peg Knights charged a scrap launcher, he fled, and I think that might have been what the peasants were charging. They were trying to push him back towards the Pegasus Knights, and they did, but the Pegasus Knights still didn't catch him. And that's the bummer. He did all this fleeing, and I didn't catch any of his units. So I think the unit of bulls on the river are fleeing. Just everybody's fleeing. Let's see over here. My knights go ahead and charge his Iron Blaster. Yeah, these I have nothing to do. There's a big board. If it's chess, I'd be great controlling the center. So during shooting, even though these guys are fleeing, I go ahead and kill some more with my shooting. And actually, I take that back. That wasn't shooting. That was magic. I really had no spells, nothing to do with my magic phase, and tons of dice. So I cast Dwellers Below just because I had the Throne of Vines up, and it went off, and I killed a guy. And then I forgot my shooting phase, which, yeah, that was great. So obviously my general's unit killed his Iron Blaster, reformed. We go to Ogre's turn 4. Pretty much I think everybody rallied except for his scrap launcher, which I thought was unfortunate. With that leadership, I don't rally all the time. Here in the far left, he finally gets the charge in. Again, it's turn 4, and you can have this trebuchet. I'm thrilled that these units weren't able to join in with the rest of the fight. So it looks like that, looks like that. Yeah, Trebuchet died. And overall, it looks as you can see it. So Bretonnian turn 4, if you look on the upper right, my general's unit charged his lead belchers. They fled, so I redirected into his battle standard bearers unit, and that could go really well for me if my general can get some heroic killing blow. And I love the Heartwood Lance because I can re-roll failed rolls to wound, but I need him. Otherwise, I don't like my odds of a prolonged combat there. If you look at the left, my men-at-arms and my battle standard bearers unit both get the charge into his unit of bulls, and I think he stayed for it because he knew if he fled that my peg knights would easily catch him. Yeah, so that looks very promising. And this is my general's unit going into his. And then the magic phase. So I get Throne of Vines up, and then I throw the toughness buff on my general's unit. So they now have +4 toughness. So now I can breathe a little bit. At least for the next 2 rounds of combat, he's not going to be doing any wounds to me. But I got an irresistible force, and then I rolled a 1 for my Throne of Vines. And then she just she cut my unit in half. She put a wound on both of my heroes in the front rank. So my BSB and the Green Knight model, both of them are clinging on to 1 wound, and it's going to be 2 more rounds of combat before I have a magic phase where I might be able to regrow those wounds. So, and I killed, I believe, 5 knights. So that was tough. Probably though, if you ask me if I would do that on purpose, I would have though. It's still a good sacrifice because the general's unit really needed that buff, and she can heal my characters. They're likely going to survive anyway, and this unit at this stage of the game doesn't need to be much stronger than this to do what it needs to do. So not complaining too much, but I thought it was funny. Kind of. Here at the very top after combat, yeah, it was kind of a pillow fight. I think I might have got 1 heroic killing blow, but at the end of the day, I won. That's what's left, and I won combat, and he stuck around. These guys didn't. I overran, and you notice the Green Knight model's gone. He failed his dangerous terrain test pursuing it through the river, and because he was already on 1 wound, he died. Darn it. Yeah, that was a real tough call right there, because if I hadn't pursued that unit, his Iron Guts at the bottom and his Mournfangs at the top, and my units were trapped there between them. And by pursuing, I got out of line of sight of his Iron Guts. With my knights anyway, the Iron Guts can still see the men-at-arms, and the Mournfang can see the men-at-arms. The good news is he's got to roll pretty well with the Iron. I think the Iron Guts need a 9 to get there. And the Noblars could charge my knights, but I'd sure rather the Noblars charge them than those Iron Guts. So that was kind of funny. It was I think it was made worse because they fled at an angle because they were fleeing from the unit with the most ranks, and that's the men-at-arms, and it took me towards his Iron Guts rather than just being able to go straight ahead. So yeah, on his turn he made all his charges. So the Iron Guts and the Mournfang sandwiched the men-at-arms. That is not going to be pretty. I would have fled, but there was just no way they were going to escape. They were, yeah, ouch. That is not how you want things to be if you're a men-at-arms. Yeah, the Noblars come into the face of my Battle Standard Bearers unit. I'm actually really worried about that because of all the static combat res he brings this first round, and because I didn't get the charge, I'm not going to do very many wounds. So I'm really, really worried. I think he might have just pulled the game out right here. If he can get both these units off the table, I'm going to be down to relatively few points. Over here, the Lead Belchers failed to rally. And yeah, so the Noblars came in. Actually, I think they actually killed a knight, maybe. I don't know, whatever. But they won combat, but not by much, and I stuck. So I was worried a little bit, but after having made it, I'm like, okay, at least now I have a magic phase. I might be able to get helped out. The men-at-arms took an absolute beating. You saw how big that unit was. When all was said and done, he had me 1 guy under steadfast. So I was down to 9 guys. Those guys absolutely packed a wallop. I don't think I did any wounds to them. I couldn't. I mean, I needed usually I think fours to hit and fours to wound, and I couldn't do it. So yeah, that was ugly. So my turn. I did nothing to do over here. I just except pull the Peg Knights up. Not sure. They'll charge in the flank of the Noblars next turn if I need it. Over here, I think that one unit of archers had fled a charge, and they were still fleeing. Not worried about that. Over here, now I'm getting worried because I'm out of range for Flesh to Stone, and I really think that's the only thing that's been saving me over here. You notice I haven't lost many knights. That's why. So a little bit nervous there. There are two ogres that always have to attack my general, and so every turn that's 6 attacks that are hitting on fours, wounding on fours, and then I've got a 4 up, 5 up, but it still makes me nervous. And this battle, I don't. At least they don't have the combat res from charging, but other than that, yes, I'm still worried about it. And then after combat, yeah, he didn't do any wounds. I beat him in combat and ran him down, and then lost a knight to dangerous terrain. Between miscast and dangerous terrain, it's been ugly. But at least I saved. I mean, this is expensive. It's an expensive unit with 2 characters, including a level 4. So points wise, that was real important. And the Noblars really could have changed the game with just a little bit of luck. Over here, he kills only a couple of my guys. I felt pretty fortunate about that. I don't think I did much to him. So I assume he won combat and I stuck around, whatever. We go to his turn. You can see he just kind of moves his guys around. He's worried about my Peg Knights charging the rear of his Mournfang. And normally I wouldn't dream of doing that, but one of them's down to 1 wound and one of them only has 2 wounds. So I actually really was considering, I might get lucky if I kill one before it can attack back. That makes all the difference in the world. So I was considering it, but during his magic phase, he had the -1 to hit spell from the Lore of Heavens on my Peg Knights. And at that point, I decided it wasn't worth it. These guys did rally. That's a bummer, because if they hadn't rallied, they probably would have fled through my trebuchet and off the board. And this time, my general finally decides to get some heroic killing blow. I think he got 1, maybe 2, whatever it was. He opened up a can on that unit and finally broke them and ran them down. And yeah, that was a sigh of relief there. So at the end of Ogre's turn 6, the right side of the board looks like that. The left side of the board looks like that. And we just called it because there's nothing I was going to do that was going to change anything. There's nothing I was going to do that would have been low risk. So just called it right there. So that was a real fun game. It was back and forth. It's a shame. I was kind of beating myself up about how close it got there at the end, even though he was down 10 or 15% in points from turn 1 when his general got sucked into the warp. So I felt my opponent played a good game, but it was nice playing with the Bretonnians again and able to see a victory with them. Hope you enjoyed it.